At ease, Commanders. Today we're going to talk about how to use the Astartes tactical detachment in your games of Legions Imperialis. We'll start first with an overview of the detachment and its characteristics, weapons, upgrades, and special rules. 35 points gets you the base detachment of 4 tactical legionaries. They have a 5-inch move, a save of 5+, a CAF of +2, a morale of 3 up, and a single wound. Each stand has one weapon, the Legion Bolter, but can be upgraded to have a plasma gun or a missile launcher. The Legion Bolter has an 8-inch range, fires 1 die, hits on 5+ with an AP of 0. It has the assault and light traits. The plasma gun has a range of 10 inches, fires 1 die, hits on 4+ with an AP of -1. It has the light AT trait. The missile launcher has a range of 20 inches and can fire either frag or crack missiles. The frag missile fires 2 dice, hits on 4+ with an AP of 0. It has the ignores cover and light traits. The crack missile fires 1 die, hits on 4+ with an AP of -1. It has the anti-tank trait. If you upgrade your tactical detachment with Assault Marines, they will have bolt pistols, which have a range of 6-inch, fire 1 die, hit on 5+ with an AP of 0. It has the light trait. If you upgrade your tactical detachment with Terminators, they will have Combi Bolters, which have a range of 8 inches, fire 1 die, hit on 5+ with an AP of 0. They have the accurate, assault, and light traits. You can upgrade your tactical detachment 4 times. Each upgrade allows you to add 2 stands of the following type to your detachment: more tactical legionaries, plasma tactical support legionaries, missile launcher heavy support legionaries, Legion Terminators, or Assault Marines. Before we talk about these upgrades, I want to make a quick base assumption for this video. We are going to assume that the bulk of your detachment is going to be tactical legionaries, and that no more than a third will be anything different. The simple reason for this is that, in my opinion, if the majority of your tactical detachment is something other than bolter-armed tactical legionaries, you functionally have another kind of detachment, which we will talk about in a separate video in the future. As a general rule, I would say we want to upgrade our detachments to its maximum limit, as small detachments of infantry can be easy pickings, especially for marching units with point defense weapons. And a larger detachment is going to take fewer morale checks and have more staying power. The Plasma Tactical Support Legionaries, I think, got a bad reputation when Legions Imperialis was first released, simply because everything they could do, the missile launcher could do better. Now, with the proliferation of automata in the Mechanicum army list, I think there's a little bit more of an argument for their inclusion, just to cut through that armored special rule. That said, the missile launcher does still offer such range and flexibility that the plasma gun is probably a pretty solid second. I think everybody knows that the missile launcher is one of the best weapons in the game. It has a very good range of 20 inches, but more importantly, it is able to engage every detachment type in the game with effective fire. And these will decimate infantry in cover with their frag missiles and can destroy many times their points value when targeting armored units. These will allow your tactical detachment to have a strong and, let's face it, even oppressive presence on the table, and are especially suited to sitting on an objective and exerting fire wherever they have a target. Now let's talk about the upgrades. Legion Terminators aren't my first choice for inclusion in a tactical detachment. They do add some punch in close combat, and their combi bolters can absolutely shred infantry at close range, even during an Overwatch shot. But in general, I feel like you're losing too many of the capabilities that Terminators have by tying them down to tacticals. They're not independent, so they'll have to stay within your unit coherency, and you're losing the ability to deep strike, which is a huge advantage and a huge capability that the Terminators bring to the Astartes force. That said, their implacable special rule will stiffen the morale of your tacticals, and you'll be harder to push off of objectives in close combat. and their Steadfast special rule will boost your tactical strength just a little bit, possibly enough to help you retain control of an objective. One wrinkle with including Terminators is that they are bulky, which means that you're going to need to use Land Raiders or Spartans if you want to transport your detachment. That may or may not be a problem for you, but it is something to keep in mind. Assault Marines might be a better choice if you're looking for some punch in close combat, though compared to Terminators you get a much worse ranged weapon and you lose some of the special rules that make them good at holding objectives. Since they're independent though, you can move them around freely and give them their own order, and with jump packs they can maneuver over friendly and enemy models to get into a good position. They're still ultimately bound to the tactical detachment though, which means you may not always get the most out of their speed and maneuverability. Alright, I know that was a lot, so let's sum up by looking at the strengths of the tactical detachment. As you can imagine for the basic Astartes unit, they really are the baseline for the whole game. So they don't have as clear-cut strengths and weaknesses as other detachments we might examine, or at least their strengths and weaknesses are going to be more general. First of all, the detachment has a huge amount of adaptability. As you may have gathered from what we said just a minute ago, you can easily tailor the composition of your detachment to the task you want to give it on the table. If you're going to park it on an objective in restricted terrain, give it some Terminators. If the objective is in open ground, maybe missile launchers are a better choice. The detachment also has a great deal of flexibility. Unlike the Solar Auxilia, the Astartes can be given any order and have ready access to Master Tactician to change orders on the fly. They're also very durable. They have a decent morale, which means they'll stick around on the table. Their 5+ save isn't great, but it does mean you're going to take far fewer casualties than your Solar Auxilia counterparts, and your 2+ CAF means that you'll be better in close combat than most non-specialist infantry. In other words, the tactical detachment is exactly what Astartes infantry should be: tough, dependable, and capable of meeting just about any challenge in the field. They really only have one weakness, and even that is a bit of a stretch. With a maximum detachment size of 12, they're on the lower end of what I'd feel comfortable with. Like all infantry, we want to make sure that we keep them in cover as much as possible to ameliorate this weakness, and make sure that you use your headquarters stands with the Medicae special rule to keep your legionaries in the fight. On the defense, I believe the tactical detachment is best suited to retaining friendly objectives. It's tempting to say they could be a good option for a reserve force by mounting them in transports, but I think overall they lack the punch needed to be effective in that role. I'd advise you to use your tactical detachments to retain friendly objectives and tailor their composition to your local terrain. On the offense, things change somewhat. We need infantry in our Seize groups, and the tactical detachment is a great option for this. By mounting them in armed transports, like Land Raiders, they can advance in relative safety across open ground and support an armored push towards an objective. Once they've closed with the objective, they can disembark and clear out any infantry, while tanks and their transports deal with any enemy armor. You can see this diagrammed on the left. If you want to leave your detachment dismounted, they're probably better suited to following in the rear of your Seize group. Then, once your assault troops and armor have cleared the objective or neutralized all the enemy occupying it, your tactical detachment can march up the board and use their tactical strength to control it, as diagrammed on the right. There are a few peculiarities I want to address concerning close assault with the tactical detachment. If you're going to include assault marines, I generally recommend that you reserve them to the rear of the main body. Then, once the main body is engaged, your assault marines can maneuver to the rear of the enemy using their jump packs, trapping them and setting up favorable engagements. When positioning your legionaries, also try to make sure that you are anticipating any possible charges by forming a line against them. In this way, you'll maximize any overwatch shots with the assault trait from your legion bolters. Let's take a look at what I mean. Compare this formation to the one in the previous example. Because the enemy has charged from the flank, half of this detachment will be unable to use their assault trait on their Legion bolters, simply because they are outside of the 4-inch range necessary. Because of this, they will lose out on 6 shots and on average 1 hit during any overwatch. It might not be game-changing, but that 1 casualty might be enough to force a morale check or even the odds of an unequal fight. Following on from that idea, if you do include Terminators in your detachment, make sure that you place them up front, toward the enemy. Not only are you going to make sure that you get the benefit of their combi bolters, but you'll force the enemy to either engage your very capable Terminators or perhaps not be able to make the charge at all. Let's wrap up by talking about how to position your tactical detachment. Like with all infantry, we want to make sure that they're generally placed in cover. Obstructing is probably best if you can manage it, but structures will do. Because of their decent save and because you have access to Medicae through your HQ stands, you can get away with moving through the open as long as you're not rash about it. In general, we want to place our tactical detachments near objectives on the defense or along avenues of approach if we're advancing toward an objective. Make sure to take care to place your models carefully if you have a mixed detachment. Terminators in the front, Assault Marines in the rear. Although the tactical detachment does have some potential as an offensive unit, like most basic infantry detachments, it is best suited for static defense, either occupying or retaining objectives. We may be in danger of considering the tactical detachment a jack of all trades, but let's not forget the second half of that common saying. It may be a master of none, but it is oft times better than master of one. That's all for now, Commanders. Dismissed.